of our Celebrity Edition for Season 4. Hey man, we've got a treat in store for you in this episode. We're going to be talking with the McElroy family and one of the first sons out of Port Arthur, Texas, one of the great athletes that we have had to come out of the city. We're going to talk baseball, we're going to talk family, we're going to talk history, and we're going to bring it to you right here on the DadCast podcast. Hang on tight, we're coming right back at you. All right, folks, I'm back here with the DadCast podcast and with our special guest, the McElroy family. And in studio with me, our very first guest from the family is the matriarch of the family, the one and only Miss Sherry Cooper McElroy. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Miss McElroy, let me ask you a couple of questions. It is my understanding that you have a company called 3G Baseball. What is 3G Baseball and why do you have that name?
Okay. Well, growing up, I came from a baseball family prior to meeting Chuck. And then Chuck and I met, and we have 2 boys. And so baseball has always been a part of my life growing up. My dad played in the Negro Leagues. He played against and with Satchel Paige. And so he was the catcher at times for Satchel Paige. And then sometimes he was an opponent of Satchel Paige, depending on how many people they had playing on the team. But they would travel around and play baseball. I heard about this all my life growing up. He played at Old Kaminsky Park in Chicago. And he would tell me of a time when he played opposite of Satchel Paige because the other team didn't have enough players. So he kind of knew what Satchel would throw, kind of knew his whole repertoire of pitches. And so I think he told me he hit one out of the park on him.
Oh, really?
And Satchel Paige didn't appreciate that so well. And so then his next time up, he drilled him.
Oh,
so
really?
Heard a lot about baseball, about him traveling back in the 60s with baseball. And then kind of fast forward, I was in college out in Lamar University.
Shout out to LU.
There you go.
Big Red.
And went to a Lincoln High School basketball game with one of my friends. Went there to see her brother play.
Okay.
They were from Silsbee and they were playing Chuck's home school. And the little gym was crowded, totally crowded. And I walked in and we were sitting down, we were talking, halftime came up, and I went to go get some popcorn from the concession stand. And came back, and one of the girls that went with us had gone to school with Chuck. And so he was over talking to her and asking her, well, who was that girl that was sitting next to you that was just here? And then when I came back from the concession, I'm looking like, okay, the stadium, the seats are crowded, and there's this guy sitting in my seat. And I'm like, okay, how am I going to get him out? So he was so gracious and nice and introduced himself, and that's how Chuck and I met at one of Lincoln's games. And then kind of fast forward, Chuck's playing ball, I'm traveling with him. At times his catcher. I grew up playing softball, so in off seasons I would catch him, and then we had 2 boys, and we just say the rest is history, and they were drafted and played ball as well.
Okay. Well, good. That's a good introduction to what we're going to discuss here. I remember, for the DadCast Nation, those of you that are familiar at all with Abraham Lincoln High School, everybody remembers those times in the basketball gym, watching those athletes play, and it was packed, and the gym was rocking from side to side. Everybody loved being at the Lincoln High School game. So that's some good memories to think about. And Miss Cooper, Miss McElroy, I'm stuck on the Cooper part, but Mrs. McElroy, let me ask you one more thing here. What has baseball meant to you and your family? Like, how important has it been, not just Of course, you know, we know the finances come along with it, but apart from finances, what kind of impact has baseball had on you and your family?
Well, it's been, like you said, a family affair. Growing up, watching our two boys play from the time they were 3-year-olds, playing baseball, the togetherness, 3 generations, my dad, Chuck, and the boys, CJ and Satchel, coming up and playing baseball. It was just a lot of togetherness, a lot of helping them get to the next level, a lot of work ethic, how you have to put in the work to be able to get the job done. And that's how 3GB LLC came about, is third generation baseball. It's training, it's coaching, it's teams, it's what we've done all our lives and what we know to do, how to interact, what it takes to get to the next level. Both of the boys had D1 scholarships to many schools. CJ was a 3-sport standout athlete, and Satchel played a little bit of football, but mostly plays baseball. And they both earned themselves D1 scholarships in that respect as well. But then going forward with that, they got drafted right out of high school. CJ by the by St. Louis Cardinals. CJ was drafted by St. Louis Cardinals, and Satchel was drafted by the Cincinnati Reds. So what it takes to get through that, the dedication, the hard work, the perseverance, getting through a lot of the obstacles, jumping through a lot of hoops to get them there. We traveled all across the United States, getting them in showcases, getting them in tournaments, getting their name out there. They were 2 of the fastest in baseball. They could steal a base on you in the blink of an eye and get to the base standing up. So it's just a lot of hard work and dedication and pushing through a lot of things and staying with it, the fortitude to stay with it. And then the family support, because whenever we would go, my dad, my mom, my sister, it was a family affair. Everyone was involved.
Right. Well, great. That's some good information. The last thing I want to cover with you before we bring your husband in is just, what would you say to those sport moms that are out there, those sport wives that are out there that are helping to support dreams and helping to push those dreams along? What kind of encouragement would you have for them?
Okay. Well, I would just say stay with it. You have to support your husband and your family on the back end of things, making sure that they have what they need to get through. It's grueling. Chuck and I, early on, we met at age 20. And so we got married at age 23. I was finishing up school, and while he was off playing, so it had to be a lot of trust and respect and understanding for each other, what we were both pursuing together and individually. So when he would come home in the off season, I understood that he had to work out to go and train. And me being a softball player growing up, I was able to get out and catch with him and run with him, and we would go and work out. So it's the support, and then also making sure that the home was taken care of, and once the boys came along, make sure that they had what they needed to do to be successful too, and just keeping God first, first and foremost. God first, then family, and then everything else comes after that. So it was a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work. It wasn't easy. We lived pretty much out of a suitcase for the season, 6 or 7 months out of the year. We're traveling, spring training, the season, and then if you happen to make it to the playoffs, then you had to go through that as well. So it was understanding that this was what he was doing before we met and to support him in his dreams and to be there. I think it made it a lot easier for him that he had someone that understood the game and knew about baseball, so we could talk baseball and I could talk with him about, hey Chuck, you need to get your arm up a little bit, a little follow through, drive with your legs a little bit more. So I think that helped, knowing the game inside and out and being a part of it, and then having a dad who played, and then an uncle who played as well, Cecil Cooper. He played about 15 years in the majors, and then came on to manage. He was the first African American manager of the Houston Astros. So being in baseball literally all our lives, and then it started with following my dad, going to games with him, and then going watch my uncle play, and then subsequently meeting Chuck and bringing him into the fold, and then subsequently having boys and more baseball. So I could never get away from baseball. That was always something. And just staying with it and making sure that they knew that they had to keep their grades up and to do the right thing inside and outside of the lines. If you wanted to get a good look from colleges, because they're going to check. They're going to see what are you about, how are your grades, how are you coachable, are you manageable. So just staying with it and just telling them how important it was to just be themselves and do the right thing, and then supporting Chuck as well.
That sounds great. Thank you for that information. I'm sure that there are those who are out there watching who are inspired by your story and your commitment, your dedication to your family and to the sport of baseball. And we're going to talk some more in just a minute, DadCast Nation, with Chuck McElroy, Charles McElroy, and then we'll bring in their sons as well. We're going to take just a quick break. We're going to let you hear a little bit from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back with you. Hang on tight. Checking out the information about our sponsors. Make sure you go to their pages, go to their social media sites, and check out their products and services. They'll be happy to hear from you. Hey, I'm back here in the studio right here in Houston, Texas, and we've been talking, of course, to Mrs. Sherry Cooper McElroy, and now we've brought in her husband, my friend, my Port Arthur native, Mr. Charles Chuck McElroy. Thank you. Give him a good hand, DadCast Nation. Hey Chuck, let me kick this segment off by asking you a question. As an African American man, and we're going to go deep, and then we'll have a little levity later. But just as an African American man in a predominantly white or Anglo-American field, sport field, how has that journey been for you? I think you were 12 seasons in the majors, is that correct? 13 seasons in the majors. If I remember correctly, you were 21 years old when you signed the first major deal, is that right?
No, actually, drafted at 18 years old.
Drafted at 18.
Got to the major leagues at 21, 22.
21, 22, okay. So there's a little bit of that journey that we need to discuss as well. But for those that don't know, Port Arthur, Texas, right on in the Golden Triangle, southeast Texas, on the border almost of Louisiana. Abraham Lincoln High School, one of the most well-known high schools in the state of Texas. Great athletes came from there. I could go on and name so many of them that were in football, baseball, track, basketball, so on and so forth. But probably one of the most well-known athletes, definitely one of the most well-known baseball athletes out of the city was Chuck McElroy. And so let's hear from him. Tell us about your journey as an African-American man in that sport, and then we'll talk some more.
Thank you. You know, coming from an all African-American, all black high school, it was tough because, you know, the majority of all the teams that we faced was white Caucasian, or white athletes from other schools. So I was one of the ones that I just loved playing sports. Didn't matter who it was or what it was. And next thing you know, my coach Lindsay, put me on varsity as a freshman. And pitched almost every game and playing against those schools and getting 15 to 18 strikeouts a game. And all I had was a fastball. So kind of like made a name for myself, but also I just wanted to just play. I didn't look at anything else but just playing sports because that's all I wanted to do. And as I got drafted and going to the minor leagues, I didn't know a whole lot because it was my first time ever being on my own. I didn't know anything about the airport or anything like that, and who's gonna pick you up and all that kind of stuff. So I get there to the hotel, and of course back then, each team probably had a lot of either African American coaches, African American managers, but a lot of African American players that we all stuck up for each other and spoke up for each other, and kind of like, what we're gonna do, just like we teaching you, teach the next guys to come up. And it was always that situation for me was listen. I listen. And the main thing I tell like kids now, you have to listen. I don't want to listen, but I listen. And each team that I played with, I always had a lot of African Americans. I know one team two teams, the Cubs, with Andre Dawson, Sean Dunston, Chico Walker, Jerome Walden. It was so many of them on that team, but the most memorable one that I played with was the Reds. I think we've had 15 African American players on that team. Deion Sanders, Barry Larkin, Kevin Mitchell, Lenny Harris. I mean, it was so many when we lined up. I think that was the most fun we ever had. But we all stuck up for each other as a team, as a group. We didn't look at it this way. No, we played together and played hard. We played together, and everybody was one. Mm-hmm. And as the game started fading out a little bit, of course, some teams I was the only one on the team. But I just kept quiet and just played. Let my work on the field do the talking. Mm-hmm. I didn't do none of the talking or made excuse for anything. I just had to work a little extra harder. And that's how it was.
Okay. Well, that's a good story in itself. Just understanding the work ethic that it takes to be at that elite level. There are so many athletes out there, many of whom may be watching this episode, who think that just because you're a good Pop Warner player, or you're a good Little League player, or you're a good high school player, that you're a shoe-in to make it to the professional league. And what I understand from athletes such as yourself is that it's a very difficult journey and takes some hard work. So we definitely commend you. We commend you on the level of professionalism you've had over the years, and for what you're doing to give back to the youth. And the thing I like about sports, you can speak to this, is that it can teach us as a society how we can be better. Because when we are a part of a team, regardless of our color, regardless of where we come back, our socioeconomic backgrounds, we all come in the team for one goal, and that's to win. And so how do you speak to those young athletes that have those field dreams, those dreams of being in the majors, but they don't understand the process? What do you tell them?
I tell them from the beginning, you have to train your mind, because going from high school to pro ball is different. Just like I told my two sons, when you get there, it's totally different. The game is faster. And what I mean by that, because you play against guys coming from the islands, and our kids are already 10 years behind. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, those kids, they do know baseball. And we talk about the Dominican, Puerto Rican, and Venezuela. And I know for me, when I got drafted, and I see those, I'm like, man, all these brothers out here. Because I didn't know what a Dominican was. Right. But when I got there, they started speaking Spanish. I'm like, what kind of brother are these? But what it did was, and I saw how hard they were doing, because I was 140 pounds. Mm-hmm. I was Urkel when I got drafted. And I'm seeing these guys throwing 90s and 100 and all that, and I'm thinking I'm throwing hard. Next thing I'm like, I got to step my game up. And then once I realized, and I tell every athlete, you have no clue what it's going to be. Even when you get to college, it's a grind, because you got to go to class. You also got to go to baseball field, got to go to class, baseball field. There's so much you have to do. Pro ball, you're out there 11 hours a day. I remember my first day, I got there, walked off the field 2 hours. They're like, is the practice over? They're like, no, you got another 6-7 hours. Huh? So that's when I realized that it was a grind. It's a grind mentally, physically. If you want to do this, you have to work hard on the mental side. And the most important thing is I tell every time, please stay healthy. And don't expect anybody to give it to you. Because, you know, it's different now than when I came up. A lot of people make excuses on why I didn't make this, I didn't. Stop making excuses. You sometimes gotta look yourself in the mirror. And one thing I did do, I listened. There's a gentleman by the name of Kenny Howell. We was with the Phillies. He came to me and said, look, I'm gonna take you under my wings. He was a black guy. May he rest in peace. And one thing is ahead. Anything you do, you follow me, you follow everything I do, and he was a pitcher. And I did. And I started listening to him. Off the field, we started talking about life, baseball, what you cannot do, what you should do, how you need to do it. And next thing you know, you teach the other ones the same way. And then I started listening to all those guys that's been there longer than I have. I'm just young, but I'm listening. Just like I told my sons, you know, when you first get drafted, it's going to be different. The game's going to be faster. You got to start learning to hit the ball here. It's a grind. Because position players work harder and on the field longer than pitchers. Mm-hmm. Position players going every day, running every day. And your body's sore. How do you get to the soreness? Your muscles hurt, your brain, your head hurt. It's just so much going on. And I tell every young athlete, don't expect baseball to come to you. You got to go to the game, but you got to be relaxed because every day is a new day. Mm-hmm. And that's what they have to do. But, you know, some guys want to try to find an easy way. There is no easy way because baseball will make you go crazy. Sometimes when you think you got to figure it out, you don't.
Yeah.
Just play the game and everything else will be there.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good information for our listeners as well. And parents that are watching, we've got folks watching from 13 or 14 countries all across the United States. Baseball is obviously a game that is worldwide. And if you're interested in, and you're able to be here in the Houston metro area or anywhere for that matter in the United States, we're going to give you some contact information for 3GB so that you can contact them and perhaps they can assist you with some of the goals that you have for your baseball efforts. Now, Chuck, before we bring your sons in and share it, before we bring your sons in, you tell me about 3GB and what you're doing and what's the goal of 3GB? Why? I mean, you're retired from baseball. You could live a comfortable life and sit back and just, you know, you and your wife could travel the world and just, you know, take it easy. Why use your energy, both of you guys, into something like 3GB? Tell me about that.
Well, I know something is missing in sports, in the youth sports, especially baseball-wise. You know, as I said before, you know, being around baseball. Baseball is a passion for all of us. It's like she said before, that's all we talk about when we're at home with baseball. They help me coach and everything. Is like, we're always talking about how can we make a kid better? How can we do this? How can we do that? Because at the end of the day, I see a lot of things that goes on with a lot of parents. And not that we walk around like we all think high and mighty, because we don't. We're real humble. All we try to do is help these kids to get where they're trying to go and let them know it's not easy. But like I always tell our parents all the time, get with somebody who's been there, who's grind. Don't go with these teams just because they got a name on it, because they won this. Winning that select ball, even winning in high school, is not going to get you a scholarship. And it's not going to get you drafted. It's how you play the game. Can you withstand this game all day, 7 days a week, 6 months straight? Can you do that? Because it's a grind. So my thing to every parent is say, look, you know what? Put them with somebody that's been there. Put them with somebody that understands the grind, understands the mental side of the game. You know, especially when they're struggling, they're having a hard time. That's what we're about. Teaching the kids about the game, but not just the game, but life in general. Because like I said, we've been on the road so much, not only just ourselves, we've been blessed enough to have traveled around the world at a young age. And the same thing with our boys. You know, we did everything we can for our boys, but at the end of the day, the parents, don't go spend money on something if your kids don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. If they want to do it, it has to come from them. Like I had to step back and get them to another gentleman by the name of Archie Corbin. Archie's from Beaumont.
Okay, yeah.
Archie and I played against each other in high school. And at the end of the day, I was daddy. She's mama. They wasn't listening to us. Because we parent. Even though we know what we're talking about, it's just the idea we had to take a step back and get it with somebody who's going to teach the game like I wanted to.
Right. That's
just how it is. That's my thing to every parent. It is hard, but at the end of the day, you have to take a step back and give it, because they're not going to listen. It's just how it is, you know. So.
Well, folks, this has been, this segment for me has been enjoyable because it's great to have a good, solid couple like Miss Sherry and Mr. Chuck here. I'm calling him Mr., but you know, we're all in the same generation here. But to have them on the show and to let them express to you how important it is, the passion that they have for the sport, and for helping others that are coming up with dreams of achieving levels of success in the sport. And with that in mind, we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to get the studio ready to bring in their sons, and we're going to have a family affair here as we discuss a little more baseball. Remember to check out our sponsors. Remember to check out 3GB as well. We'll have all of that contact information for you at the end of this episode. Hang tight. We'll be back with you in just a minute. Segment of this episode in our Celebrity Edition, Season 4 with the McElroy family. We've been talking with Mrs. Sherry Cooper McElroy, Mr. Charles Chuck McElroy. We've now brought in their sons, CJ McElroy and Satchel McElroy. So give them a hand, welcome them as they come to the DadCast podcast. All right, we're going to talk some more baseball. We've heard a lot from the parents, and now we're going to see what the sons have to say. Hey, Mr. CJ, glad to have you, man, on the set. Congratulations on all the success that you've had in the sport, outside of the sport. Mr. Satchel, same thing, man. Congrats on all you've been doing. These two guys, man, they're young guys, but they are leading the way in many ways for that generation that's going out and being entrepreneurs and using their skill sets to make a good living for themselves and to help others. So CJ, let's talk with you. When I was looking at some of your stats, 1993 you were born, you went to Clear Creek High School, and you were drafted. Tell us about that draft process. When were you drafted? How did you feel when you heard your name called? Talk to our audience about that for just a minute.
So I went to Clear Creek High School, got drafted out of high school at third round, St. Louis Cardinals. But it all started, the long story short, it started faced a dude my junior year named Tolly Green. And he was throwing 98 out of high school. And I came up, my dad was like, hey, stay inside the ball. He throws you a little hard, have quick hands. So first at bat, kind of rolled one to left center on the line. And second, there was scouts out there too looking at the pitcher named Tolly Green. So it was the second at bat, kind of line drive to right field, rolled one again. And that's all that got started, the process, and I got invited to the area cover.
Okay.
From that one, that was two great hits. It started just like that, and batted 500 area code. Did good, so the scouts came out senior year and played good. I was on the kid on the mission. I batted with 488 out of high school, 55 score runs, about 10 home runs. But I was just a kid on the mission. I was focused. I was driven. My dad always taught me on the mental side of the game, but my mom was more tough on us. So that driven me, and it kept me humble too at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as I come home, like I have a strikeout looking, I already know my mom's gonna get on me. I already know, I see that eyes like, what you doing striking out? You're gonna have somebody gonna take your spot, or you're gonna get your scholarship taken away. She did not sugarcoat nothing. And that kept me going, it kept me working hard. And soon after that, I had a great year with them at Clear Creek, and the draft came around. And that process, the pre-draft workouts, everything to get to that, it was crazy. We was running everywhere. I know I went to Austin, did a long jump. I went to state for long jump. So I did that. Then I had to turn around, go all the way to, where we went to? Dallas. We went to Dallas for a pre-draft workout. So we was going back and forth. It was a long journey, but it was good. It was great. And I had fun with it. And I just wanted to thank the man upstairs for my family and my talents that he gave me, and just everything.
So how did it feel to be drafted? You're the older brother. Your dad had been in the majors. Your grandfather had been in the Negro Leagues. Your uncle has been in the majors. How did it feel for you as an individual? What were you feeling when you were drafted?
I was excited because that was my dream. You know, getting drafted. I see my dad when he was playing. He was all in the locker room. Met my brother. Saw a lot of great guys: Cal Ripken, Barry Larkin, all those great Hall of Famers. Tony Gwynn. That was my dream. That was my sport, and that's what I want to do as my career. And that's why I tell these kids now, we got to put the work in. It was all about my mindset. As soon as I was little, I was first in everything. First getting the water, first getting everything. It was just my drive, just to be in first. But I was a leader, and I didn't talk. I just showed it on the field. And you know, like I said, actions speak louder than words. I just showed it everything out there. So it was just a dream to see my dad out there playing the game. That's what I wanted to be at, and that's how I got started.
All right, sounds good. CJ is a modest guy, but he's a heck of an athlete, multi-sport athlete. You're into fitness training, I believe.
Yes, sir.
He's into fitness training and helping the younger generations that are coming up, as this family as a whole does. They're really helping younger athletes position themselves mentally and physically for the next level of competition that they want to enter into. And before we talk a little more about that as a whole, let's talk to Satchel a minute. Satchel, welcome to the DadCast podcast. And you also have been through the draft process.
Yes, sir.
So let's tell our listeners and those that are watching about the draft process for you, and you know how it was in high school, coming out of high school and being drafted.
Great. So that process is a process itself. Also, I went to area code. That whole process, I made the all-tournament team. I was approached by numerous amounts of scouts and agents because of just how I was taught and how I played the game. They loved how I was happy, you know, even though I had maybe a bad at-bat, how I would carry myself on and off the field, how I was always the first guy on the field, never the last, how I was interacting with my teammates and asking questions to scouts and the players. Hey guys, you know, what can I do to get my game better? So that process, it was a sacrifice, especially for my parents. They sacrificed a lot of their time for us, me and my brother, to be able to travel, to get to the next game, the next tournament, or get to the next showcase. So the process for me was, you know, it was overall blessing, and it was to hear your name called and to have out of million kids that want to hear their name called in that draft. It's a really humbling beginning.
Was that with the Reds?
Reds, yes.
Reds.
Drafted by the Reds in 21st round pick. And it's just that hard work is just all the hard work that you put in, you finally see it come to light.
Right.
So it's to hear your name called is just a blessing. I wouldn't trade any of what my process did for anything else. It was days and nights where my brother always hitting, trying to critique our swings, trying to get that right, trying to think more of the middle side of the game, how we get our mind right for this pitcher here or this guy here. So this has been a process. We're glad to have, blessed to have a brother that we can work out together and to push each other and to know we have our times, but we always, you know, we're tough love. It's just saying with my family, we always love each other, and at the end of the day, we always come back and we always talk about it, communicate well.
Right.
So, but that process is a process, a good, great process.
All right, well, thank you for that. As you guys have heard, both of these guys drafted into the majors. The dad drafted into the majors. Mominger, the director of the family here, has guided all of them on and off the field. We have a good example here of a family unit that is stuck together through all the ups and downs and things that they haven't even shared on camera. but it's gotten them to a point in their life where they can give back. And that's what 3GB is all about, giving back to the next generation of players that are coming up and helping them. All of these guests have talked about the mental part of the game. And regardless of what you're doing, DadCast Nation, whatever field you choose to go in, there's always a mental part of the game, whatever it is, that you have to be prepared for. Because if you're not prepared mentally, doesn't matter how good you are physically, how skilled you are, or how talented you are, there's a mental part of everything that you try to achieve. So let me ask you guys this, and whoever wants to answer can answer. Let's say you have that 5-star athlete that comes to your camp or comes to your training session, and man, they come on, you know, chin up, head up, like I'm the shiznee. You know, I got it all together. All the scouts want me. You know, nobody can stop me. That attitude, that ego. How do you guys deal with that when they show up for training with you? Who wants to take that? All right.
Well, like I tell them all the time, you can do all the talking you want on the field, especially as a batter compared to a pitcher. It's different because the thing is, like I always tell the kids, this game will humble you so quick. This game will make you go crazy so quick. So I always tell them to stay humble, let your play do the talking, how the ball, something come off your back. Because if you get 4 bloop hits, that don't mean anything. But it's how you square the ball up. You know, I always tell them all the time, just stay humble, be quiet, and play. The talent is there. There's a reason why people want to watch you. But I tell them all the time, I can't stick up for you. I can't put my name out there. I may wait a few times and just watch them first. You watch them first and see how they play the game. Do they run the ball out? When there's a pop-up in the infield, do he run it out or does he jog? I tell them all the time, they're not going to want that. So I always tell them, be quiet and just play. Play, play, play. Because at the end of the day, you can be so happy. Next game, you can be way down here. Stay humble and let your play do the talking. Granted, you have someone to listen to someone. And the ones that want to listen, guess what? They're learning the hard way. You got to push them aside because guess what? Somebody else that's hungry has middle talent. I'll take them all day because they the one who's going to get there and want to work hard.
Mm-hmm. That's a good answer. So guys, whoever's looking, and I'm saying guys, girls, boys, whoever it is that's watching, just keep your head in the game. Stay humble. Stay focused. Outwork the next person. I think that's what I'm hearing. Outwork the next person, and you'll have a good chance to be successful. Now, Sherry, let me ask you this: how do you keep these guys up? I mean, like when they've had a bad game or something's going on in their life, a relationship issue, whatever the case might be. Your husband comes in and he's hurt his arm, and his arm is his money, and he's feeling like, you know, I can't throw, or I don't want to work out, I'm tired. What do you do as the mother and as the wife? What have you done to keep these guys up? And what can you do for other athletes that come in and face those obstacles?
Thank you. That's a good question. Well, being on that side of things, you know, moms, we're always nurturing and want to take care and remedy and fix problems. Chuck, early on, I can go back to a time when he was with the Reds. Chuck was having some bursitis in his throwing arm. And I'm like, okay, we got to get you going. The doctors have looked at you. They can't figure out what's going on. Late night was up. I think I was expecting Satchel at that time. Heard about a product. I'm like, Chuck, you got to try this. I said, I think it's going to be able to help you. I said, nothing else. You've gone to therapy, you've gone to acupuncture, you've gone to this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay, try my way. Let's see if it'll work. And so I was able to get him on this. It was a supplement. And it did wonders. Chuck has pitched 13 years, 16 years probably with the minors and majors combined, never had any arm surgery. Was always able to keep his arm in good shape. So take care of your body. Say that to everyone, take care of your body. When you are hurting, make sure you get the right type of rest, the right type of therapy for yourself, and also be in tune with your body and take care of yourself. Even when CJ played a lot of football, I would tell him, I'm like, I think we need to own an emergency room because we're always in there. He was a very tough player. He very aggressive, but I was always there to try to get him through injuries. And I know when he had knee surgery, that was one of the big things, that going after a little routine fly ball and ended up tearing his ACL, and had to get him back through that. It's tough, but it's a lot of dedication. Days when he didn't want to go and get on that bike and get that scar tissue broken up and walking pigeon-toed as he does, but that's why they're so fast. I mean, what's your 40 times? 4.33 and
60 is 6.21.
And the 60 is 6.21. So, and going and having these guys look at them, but it's about taking care of your body, eating right, getting the proper rest, stretching. I think we probably did that more than anything, talked about how important stretching was, and making sure you were flexible. I remember his pediatrician, it took a whole team of everybody. So the doctors, from his pediatrician, she was like, CJ, you're too tight. You're going to hurt something. You've got to be more flexible. So that was at like, what, age 10. She could see that, the structure of his muscles and his body tone, and she's like, you need to stretch. So from then on, we incorporated stretching, getting the right supplements, getting the proper rest, icing, tubbing. I can't tell you how many Epsom salt baths, and Mom, you got the bath water ready? I'm sore. Okay, so we'll get that going and put the jets on and let it get going for. So taking care of your body, making sure that they always had the right foods to eat, even though sometimes they're picky eaters, but stressing how you take care of your body and it'll take care of you in the long run. And sometimes unfortunate things happen, but you get back up, and how your mindset, you not giving up and pushing through some things to just stay with it and not giving up and keep going forward.
Right. Thank you. That's some good information. I'm hearing nutrition is important, exercise is important, taking care of your bodies, taking care of your minds, so mental health, physical health, those things all play an important role in achieving the type of goals that you want to achieve. Before we go, I'm going to throw this last question out there, and any one of you, or if several of you want to respond to it, you can. But as we think about 3GB, and we think about what you're doing in the future, how you're helping young athletes, one thing we didn't discuss is the amount of help you guys have given as a family to athletes to earn scholarships. Those that probably wouldn't have earned a scholarship had they not come in contact with this family, and getting a chance to have their education paid for while playing a sport that they love. What do you want the legacy of 3GB to be when 20 years from now, when your parents and myself, we're a little older, a little more feeble, and you guys are maybe interviewing someone or talking about your family history? What do you want 3GB to be remembered for? And I'll give each of you an opportunity. I'm going to start with your dad, and just tell our viewers, our listeners, what you want 3GB to be remembered for.
Well, we'll be known for helping the kids, all kids, if they want to be helped. Not just the 5 stars, or 1-star, if you want it bad enough, we would help you. But it takes a lot of work, not just overnight success. It takes continuous work on the baseball side. Now, football, basketball is totally different, but on the baseball side, it takes a lot of work, and we want to be known for helping every kid who wants to be helped. Not just on the baseball side, but the life side as general. Also to the parents. I get a lot of questions from parents. What should I do? How should I do? Showcases are a little bit different than when CJ and Satchel came up. You needed them. You really don't need them now. It's all about who's going to have your kid back. That's what we want to know. Be known as who's going to have your kids back. Who's going to stick up for your kids? Who's going to go to war for your kids? That's what we want to be known as.
All right. And I'll get you guys, and get your mom, and get you guys.
And so 3GB again came along about the third generation of baseball. We have 3 generations of baseball in our family. Pretty unheard of that you've got that so deep. But 3GB is an idea. The goal is to help train kids, to get them the proper training, to get them the proper nutrition, to help them reach their expectations, to help them to see where they want to go. It's not always about winning. When I go to games and I'm listening, oh, well, we didn't win. Oh, well, it's not about winning. It's about learning how to play the game. I cannot stress that enough. My boys and Chuck, I can tell you too, they were not always on the best of teams. Growing up, Chuck, in high school, he played on a team, but he was a standout. He made himself come to the forefront. CJ and Satchel both, their high school teams didn't always make the playoffs. They weren't always on the best of teams. They didn't always win. I think CJ's senior year, y'all probably finished second or last in the district. And because they didn't have a catcher. But that's a whole nother thing. But CJ made himself come up to the forefront. He ended up winning MVP of the whole district that year on a losing team. Okay, that usually doesn't happen when you're the MVP. Satchel's team, they made it into the late rounds of the playoffs, yes, but he would push himself and make himself better. So it's how you approach the game. You approach the game the right way, and the game will take care of you. It's not always about winning. It's about learning how to play the game right.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Satchel, and then we'll go to CJ.
So the purpose for 3GB is for allowing myself to be a good mentor to other young men out there or women that have the hopes of playing this game at a higher level. Like my mother said, to piggyback off of the winning, you must first learn how to play the game the right way before you can win. And that's always been, like you said, we weren't always on the winning team, but we had parents that mentored us, other coaches that mentored us to help us get over that hump, or help us in life to always come back to the good things, and always come back to what was something that kind of helped you succeed and kind of stuck you to get to over that hump. So our goal is to be good mentors, to be good leaders and role models in the community or in the Houston area or anywhere in the world. So.
All right. And CJ?
Yeah, the purpose of 3GB, like my mom said, it's not about winning. It's about, just trusting the process. If you trust the process and change your mindset, you can do anything. And like I said, I want this to, change the world, change the youth, and change the game of baseball. Because this game is not easy. And I know all 4 of us, we can help the kids to get where they're at, and the parents too, what they need to do at home. Some of these parents don't do nothing at home with their kids. That's why I tell them, take time with your kids and work with them. Work with them, not just don't let them sit around and do nothing. Push them. If they want to do this, you want to push your kids. So I want this, just to carry a long way, change the game and just trust the process. That's the main thing.
All right, well, you heard it from the McElroy family. I want to thank them for being a part of this podcast and this episode. 3GB. Is it 3GB.com or 3G? 3gbaseball.com.
I think you got 3gbaseball.com.
3gbaseball.com. We'll have that information up for you right after the episode ends. All right, so 3gbaseball.com is where you can go to get information about this fabulous family and their efforts for training and mentoring. I believe that there are some personal training opportunities as well. So you can reach out to them for those, for that information. We'll get their social media information out to you shortly. You can find them on Facebook as well. The McElroys are a famous family, and so they're not hard to find. But reach out to them, let them help you. And I want to leave you with this, DadCast Nation, wherever you are, any country that you're watching from, any state here in America that you're watching from, whatever it is you desire to work after, to go after, just be focused, laser focused on what you want to achieve. Find all the resources like 3GB and others that are available to you, and whatever it is that you're trying to go after. Use those resources. Stay focused on what your ultimate goal is, and I'm pretty sure that you'll reach that goal if you just work very hard, work smart, and do the best that you can to be the best that you can. I want to thank you for tuning in to the DadCast podcast. Thank you to the McElroy family for being here with us. Those of you that are watching from the Port Arthur area and you know the McElroy family, hey, leave us a comment, send me a message. We'll make sure to get it out on our socials. Give some love to the McElroys. They are a product of Port Arthur, both Sherry and, Sherry, you're from Port Arthur, right?
No. I'm from Dickinson.
From Dickinson. Okay, we'll let you slide.
Yeah.
Those that are watching, wherever you're, if you know them from the Dickinson area, or from Port Arthur, send us a comment. Leave us a comment. We'll make sure to get that information to them. Look out for more good things from the McElroy family, from 3GB, and we thank you. We'll see you again soon. Stay tuned. We've got celebrities lined up all season long, and we look forward to coming back to you, DadCast Nation. Take care. This is Lavelle. I'm out.